Welcome, everybody, to another episode of Men and Sex. I'm your host, Mr. Wood. This podcast is all about normalizing some of the most taboo conversations. Here we talk about sexuality, we talk about masturbation, we talk about arousal, we talk about many of the things that we've been told we shouldn't talk about. Today's discussion, we are going to go into one of the most dangerous subject matters that causes so much pain in men's lives. And in my own experience, I feel that this subject matter, when I as a man really grow to learn and understand as much as I can in this field, my life becomes just so much more peaceful. And today we're going to be talking a lot about the misunderstandings between men and women, the confusion, the things that we don't understand or see eye to eye. And I've got a special guest, someone that I started seeing their content online and just love some of the messages that they're sharing and the passion that they're sharing it with. Today I have Harry Kloser-Pitcher to the show, and his page is She's Not Crazy. It's a focus on understanding the hormones, the cycles, and emotional timing of females, women. Welcome to the show, Harry.
Thank you very much, Ian. Very, very sweet to be here. Totally excited for a good conversation. And yeah, any more light that gets shed on these subjects and anything that can be done to sort of bring men and women closer together, poor helps saves marriages. It certainly saved mine.
And this is not a new problem. I mean, this is a problem as old as time. And, even as old, old, centuries old, thousands of years old. But I'm thinking of even books like Men Are From Mars, Women Are From Venus. And this whole perspective, that book's all about us being from different planets and different beings. So this is not a new issue, and it can be one of the most challenging issues. So I think that it's amazing that you're taking it on. And I'm curious for you to share a little bit with the listeners that brought you on this path to be passionate about, crossing this divide between men and women and having this be the main thing you're focused on.
Oh, it's big questions. How did I come to this? Um, Without trying to like do the whole massive long-term story,
Yeah.
kind of ended up in Wales when I was young, 12 years old, in a kind of sort of hippie-ish community that was very focused around, for those of your viewers who know about it, nonviolent communication, basic idea coming from Marshall Rosenberg, and before him, the psychologist Carl Rogers, person-centered therapy. And that was this whole idea of we all operate within certain human needs. We have needs that we try to meet, and those needs are anything from food, shelter, right up to community, sex, host of everything else. Everything we do is trying to meet needs. And the basis of that conversation is empathy. The basis is sitting with someone, they're saying something. And part of the idea around that is you can hear the beautiful needs and feelings underneath the fucking nasty language that they're using at you. And that's the basic kind of concept if we're going into it. Um, and I always felt a difficulty in that community as a man. There was always something that's like, I don't know why, but I'm trying to do this whole empathy, connection, feeling things, and I always struggled with it a lot. Fast forward many years, and after I've done my degree in philosophy, after I've been a health coach and a life coach, alongside with being a chef professionally most of my life as well. And I met my wife to be now 11 years ago. She was Austrian. We met at a large event in Birmingham. And I ended up quickly going out to Austria and we got pregnant very quickly and I stayed. Now, this is two people by that point. She had been in that whole communication world for many years. I was in it for many years. We were deeply, deeply skilled individuals. We knew how to talk. We knew what empathy was, all these different pieces.
Yeah.
We still argued like cats and dogs. And especially it would hit certain times. And I still beat myself up at times for not noticing this earlier because I'm like,
Ah.
I was obsessed with hormones and health and nutrition for years. And yet we ran into all this shit. Fast forward, and we were in Wales many years later. with the two kids to top that all off. And we really broke down. And of course, there's a host of different things that came in there. We started, I actually moved out and we were living together but apart. And we managed to come back together. And a large piece of that is she hit a moment at some point when all of a sudden she said, Harry, I'm not fucking willing for you to call me crazy anymore.
Oh,
And looking back, we would get to these places that at the time we weren't tracking. We thought it was other things. It would
yeah.
often be during her luteal phase, where, of course, she was more tender, she was more stressed, she was more fatigued. That sock on the floor, that thing I would say, that thing I would do would naturally trigger shit in her in a different way. She would then blame me for it. I would take it extremely personally. And my go-to reaction was often something like, "You were different yesterday. What's wrong with you? You're just being irrational." It's like, "What's going on, crazy woman?" I did that a lot, and I'm not proud of it.
Yeah.
Um, and once she hit that, and I sort of started to dive into this, and especially into like the evolutionary biology, like the why behind it. Why? Why the hell does this happen? Because it's meant to just be natural. Why does it happen? And me being the total nerd and total geek that I am, I listened to thousands of hours of podcasts. I read hundreds of books. I started reading, especially from female scientists and doctors, because really they're the only ones that it's truly worth listening to when we're talking about women's bodies.
Right.
And it just shifted.
Yeah.
We, it's like when I, as a man, could logically get this piece that I needed to get logically. Oh shit, that's going on to you. No wonder that's so frustrating for you. And what it meant was that we started walking through these places together with me holding her hand. It's like, you're in follicular phase, you're about to hit your ovulation, and then you're going to crash. And I know you're going to crash, and you know you're going to crash. And the fact that we walked into it with a kind of allowance, acceptance, and understanding for, as I've heard it from my wife, directly changed her experience of it. She was less stressed, less fatigued,
Mm, mm,
because she knew that it was allowed. She knew that it was
mm.
okay.
Wow.
So I would say our arguments dropped by about 95%.
Wow.
And of course, it took a bit of time. And of course, I'm not bloody perfect. Um, but 95% less arguments, way more sex, way more connection, way more fun. And everything just moved into this flow, transformed everything.
Beautiful. I love knowing this story. Thank you for sharing it and the intimacy and depth that you brought us into. I love this knowing now the name of your social media page being She's Not Crazy. And that's so potent. This is such a powerful subject because I feel like this is kind of what we do across the aisle to each other, men to women and women to men, is like, they're crazy, they're blah, they're whatever. And this is kind of a just a kind of a giving up, like I don't understand you. And so I have a word for you.
Mm.
And I think that is a representation of the pain that both sides are in. It that we're both feeling pain from not understanding one another and how we experience reality.
Yeah, 100%. And for me, the focus came on. I would tilt that a little bit for the men. What tends to often get directed at men is more this place of A, you don't fucking care about me, and two, you're emotionally stunted.
Yes.
Um, and because the crazy part for me, the crazy part goes back. Do you know where our word hysteria comes from?
No.
So the word hysteria comes from the ancient Greek hystera, which means the madness of women due to their wandering wombs.
Whoa.
The word estrogen comes from oistros, ancient Greek again, which is, so have you ever seen a cat in heat? Yeah, 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 yeah. You know how mad they are, how rampant they are?
Yeah.
That's where estrogen comes from.
Whoa.
So it's like that language to describe women as crazy comes from a long, long, long time ago. And that's
Mm,
built into the very fabric of, as I see it, how women have been described and thought of for many years.
mm,
And then in the last 50 years or so, and I would argue almost since the feminist movement sort of came in, which did incredible things,
yes.
and at the same time
Yeah.
brought us like, we want to be equal, which we took to mean the same as.
Yeah.
And so we kind of almost masculinized women,
Yeah.
and we tried to feminize men by saying, men, you should communicate with these emotions. And if you can't do that, that means you're emotionally stunted and there's something wrong with you.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think that, particularly in this subject matter, I feel like some men have resistance to it, and it's almost seen as, my understanding of them or me putting time and energy of trying to understand a woman more is for them. But really, at the beginning of this conversation, I want to point out that we're having this conversation for the men, that it makes our lives easier. As you said, your arguments going away and all the things that came back that you enjoyed, that this journey into learning more, understanding more, the willingness to explore is bringing peace into my life as particularly a heterosexual man, which is predominantly what we're talking about in this conversation.
It's 100%. It's almost like this thing of like, if you want to get good at something and if you want to improve how easy something it is, you put time and energy in it. If you want to get better in the gym, you want to get bigger muscles, you go to the gym. You devote time to learning about the gym. You do all your programming and you do all your sets. Or if you want to get better with your car, you learn about mechanics, you learn how the engine's put together. And because you've learned about the gym, your life gets better. You get bigger muscles, you have a better workout, you're fitter. And for me, I see it the same in this case. And there is one piece in there that I see more on the shoulders of men to make the first move. There's something around that because, of course, as I said, part of what happened with my wife and me is that she started reminding herself about her cycle. And therefore, she was less likely to blame all the shit that happened in luteal phase on me. At the same time, women have been called crazy for thousands of years. And I think there is a certain like invitation towards the guys. Hey, if we show that we're trying to make these steps, um, it means a lot to women at that point. That's my personal sense. And of course, as you were saying, it's like it dramatically improves men's lives. Who doesn't want to have a better connection with their partner? Who doesn't want more sex? Who doesn't want less fights and arguments? It's like those are all great things.
I mean, if we could put that in a bottle and sell it, we would be
I
billionaires right now.
love the work of, do you know this guy? He's a divorce lawyer, James Sexton.
No.
Wonderful. He's America's top divorce lawyer. You can watch him on
Okay.
like Diary of a CEO, places like that. And he speaks about he's got his book How Not to Fuck Up Your Relationship or How Not to Fuck Up Your Marriage. And
Cool.
obviously approaching it from the perspective of someone who has witnessed the many ways in which we fuck up our marriages and fuck up our relationships over many, many years. He also speaks a lot about gratitude. He speaks a lot about death. He speaks a lot about love. And for me, that's one of these pieces in bringing in like, hey, if you want to do things really badly and you want to fuck up everything, this is a way to do it. And we can make a choice. We can do something different. And this is for me one of those ways.
Yeah. Yeah. So you decided to go this direction, focusing on this. And, for the listeners, if you haven't seen his page, I mean, I see you. You're blowing up right now. Your growth is happening fast. So the subject matter is landing for people to they're caring and you're delivering it in a way that they can hear it. And this is one of the things that, I've this changed my life. When I was in my late 20s, what brought me on the path to learning about hormones and cycles and all these things was being in a relationship where I didn't want that partner to be on the pill and like to be putting those chemicals into her body. And so what brought me on the journey was I also didn't want to become pregnant unintentionally. And so we learned about the cyclical cycle and of hormones and when her ovulation was more so as like a prevention of getting pregnant. And it was extremely powerful for me from a place of feeling that I had choice in the matter and just feeling more connected to it. But also what developed from that was more understanding of the hormone side of it, of like the emotions, of the mind, of what she's going through. But that was my personal journey with it. It came in a different way. And for me, it's one of the subjects that I think heterosexual men, it's one of the first things, if you don't know, go learn it because of how much peace it brought into my life. Mine, once again, was more so like I had trauma around getting pregnant like before I was ready to. So that was a big fear for me. So it came from that avenue. But just like both
The
of
red.
those together are so powerful, both the hormone emotional side and the power of like, okay, I understand her ovulation. I understand when she's most likely to become pregnant.
Mm, mm. It totally. I mean, it supports everything at that point, and it's almost like um, this is reality for 50% of the population. Um, just in the same way, it's like I've done these few videos now on perimenopause and menopause because it's like so many women going through those times when they have dramatic swings up and down for some of them up to 15 years. I mean, some of the stories I've been told now, I've been sat at the laptop crying, hearing, some women trying to go to doctors to get help for 10 years and just being continually told, well, it's all in your head, you know. Oh, have you done a bit more exercise? This sort of stuff. It's like this is the reality of nature for 50% of the population. It's like it matters.
Mm,
It matters.
mm.
And the fact is, my experience throughout all of life is when I understand something, I take it less personally.
Ooh, yes. Say that
It's just
again.
if I understand it, I just don't take it personally in the same way. It's just
Yes.
something just settles. It's like, oh, that's why. That's why. Now and for me, that is almost what I see as the male form of empathy. It's
Ooh,
not I feel it deeply. I sit across you display an emotion and therefore I feel it.
ooh.
It's more like, oh, I get it now. Fuck, of
Uh,
course you feel that way. I get it. Oh,
oh,
yeah.
I love that. I love that. You know, what's just came to mind for me, you know, the evolution in my own life as I've learned, in micro bites, looking things up, listening to things, just kind of as through the years, just learning a little bit more here and there. But where it is now in my lived experiences, I'm in a new relationship. We've been dating for like 2 months, but I'm already connected to her on her cycle app. Like she shares her cycle app with me. I'm her partner on my cycle app. And I literally can see like she's taking her temperature, she's putting this information in and it's charting like where she is. The app's like telling me, "Oh, she might be more tired today. She might be more irritable." And bringing it back to like, man, that makes it easy. Like if if I have information that I can like expect something and then I see it and I'm like, "Wow, okay, right
Of
on
course, because
time."
that's another big part. It's like you know it's coming. It's like it doesn't have to be this fucking surprise when all of a sudden you walk into it and like get hit by this train wreck of something going all over the place and you don't know what to hold. But it's like, oh yeah, that's next week. Okay, what do we do to prepare for that? What do we do to get ready? And of course, of course it's going to change woman to woman. And that's the other thing. It's like some women, I think 10% of women barely have PMS symptoms. And of course, you get another 10 to 20% with PMDD, where it's truly horrifying. But any of it, when it's not in the dark, when it's not a taboo, when it's just spoken, we lie in bed and we talk about it together. Then we go downstairs and like when my wife's coming to that point, we'll talk to the kids. Mama's coming into this phase at the moment. The kids know what that means now. So the kids are also supportive too. They're like, oh, mama needs more quiet. We just have this awareness in the house, and that changes the whole experience of it.
Yeah, and I'm thinking about men that might have resistance come up around learning, around doing th different things, around change and the things that they might say. And yeah, there's just this, for me as a partner, I want to be in a that's one of my favorite things about being a man in a relationship is how I get to show up as a loving person to another. Like that's one of my favorite things. Like I realized that when I left my last relationship, I felt a ton of grief of I love who I am with this person and the way that I show up and love on them. And I
Mm.
really feel that in what we're talking about here of understanding a woman's cycle and in this dance that we get to do with them is for me, I enjoy being a man that gets to show up in that way. And once again, I feel like it's putting some of that masculine structure. Like, hey, what
Mm.
supports you in this phase? Oh, when I have this kind of tea, when I have this kind of food, when I get this kind of sleep. Oh, okay. Let me, put that down somewhere that I can lead in that way. Hey, do you have your tea for this? Do you have that your the food that you like for this? And that's just more that masculine like
Is it
structure that
like
I like.
it gives you the opportunity to step into something which is actually a very masculine archetype? It's like
Totally.
it invites you into a place which often isn't easy to step into nowadays. Mm.
Yeah, like that leadership, that organization, that having the vision, using that analytical mind with to-do lists and organization or whatever. And in that, when I live my life more organized, when I've got that clarity ahead, it goes into all areas of my life. Whether it's work, whether it's goals I have with fitness or with my hobbies, it's like when I am feeling structured and have that vision ahead, that gives me more confidence.
Mm. Yeah, of course. I mean, it then bleeds out into everything else that you do. It's kind of what was that concept? I can't remember who I got that idea from. It was one of the kind of mindset coaches. And it's this idea of when you're feeling overwhelmed, it's that there are too many things in your life that you're not choosing. There are too many challenges that are just happening to you and you're not choosing. And so the real answer to a sense of overwhelm is to choose more challenges. Because when you choose them, it brings it back into this realm of I'm making this happen myself.
Mm,
And everything else then just comes along for the ride
mm, mm.
because you're purposefully walking towards things, which I think is often considered as well, this very kind of masculine trait a lot of the time. But I love you naming that part because it's like we as men often long to find ways in which we can protect, in which we can also sacrifice ourselves and devote ourselves to something. And for me, when I devote myself to my wife, when I devote myself to my children, um, the other things around me become easier because I'm already devoted to the most important things.
Yes. Now, I'm gonna
Oh,
view.
I want to pick up one piece that you
Yeah,
said from
yeah,
earlier on,
please.
which is this piece around men and the being almost scared of
Yeah,
the understanding. And
yeah.
because there's two strong pieces for me there. It's like that I've come up against, which is like often men struggle to go into this place of acceptance of women's biological reality. Because when we do, I had to sit with some of this. Um, when we do, and we ask ourselves the question, it's like, oh shit, that's real. This is really happening. She lives this world. She lives this biological reality. What does that say about how I have treated women my whole life?
Mm,
What does that say about how men as a race have, and as a sex, have treated women for the last several thousand years? And there's no part of me that believes that men nowadays should shoulder the burden of what we have done
yeah,
over thousands of years.
yeah,
And nevertheless, it puts us up against those places.
yeah.
It's like, shit, how have I behaved? given this is the reality of what someone else is experiencing.
And I love you said that because it's a perfect lead-in of what was on my mind is we can't go into this conversation without talking about the pain that exists in this misunderstanding in this relationship of man to woman. And this has been you have the psychology background, which I love that world too, which is like there's a lot going on here psychologically from a man to a woman that is different from a woman to a man. I've been
Mm.
fascinated thinking about this because, you know, we as men, we come from the woman. And
Mm.
it's not the same. Women don't come from the man. And so there is a different relationship here. And I think that this is one aspect of there's a huge pocket of pain here for men when it comes to their relationship with women, with the feminine, that I think is a huge aspect that for as men that is important for us to address if we feel resistance here, if we feel that, that anger, that like unwillingness to want to understand or whatever it is, there's most likely something here with mom, with sister growing up, with rejection that happened early on, being a teenager or something and women making, girls making fun or like being cheated on early. Like there's a lot of pain here too that can cause resistance to want to understand.
Mm. And what then flows from that for me is this thing around validation. It's like we've got all this resistance. We want to understand. Someone comes along and says, "Hey, do some understanding."
Yeah.
And what that can land as is, "What, you fucking think I should just say she's right all the time?" Um, has been a common thing that's come up in like comments and stuff I've been sent by men nowadays. Um, and it's like, yeah, no wonder. And you're also trying to do this all in the face of the underlying biology, which you don't understand as well. Um, but yeah, women at that point, there's just this ongoing level of pain.
Yes.
And
Yes.
not to mention, we're doing it all within the context of most of us not having had good male role models,
Yes.
not having had good mentors, and not being in a culture that initiates men anymore.
Yeah.
And that puts us, as much as we don't fucking like to admit it, it puts us on a lower keel because women self-initiate three times. They self-initiate when they begin to bleed, they self-initiate when they give birth, and they self-initiate when they go through perimenopause years,
Yeah.
which puts us already at a disadvantage at that
Yeah.
point.
Yeah.
Uh,
And there is yeah, that it's something to acknowledge here because as I was sharing with you before we got on here, there's a lot of pain here. And I don't post a ton about this, but I recently had a post where it was a woman talking about what women, how men could show up with women. It was about boundaries. It was about speaking your no. I'm like, this is an amazing post. Like, yeah, let's step into our boundaries, speaking our no's. Man, I have never had so much hate on a post of men being like, women are like children. They don't know anything. Like this like comment after comment of just like, this is bullshit. Women can't have no room to talk. And I was like, wow. And what was there for me was just this understanding of there's so much pain here. There's so much pain here, that there is definitely a path that has to be formed for men that are in this place of so much pain to get them to even be open to want to understand in any way.
well, I think a lot of us are we are very, like I was saying before, it's like women are used to being called crazy, men are used to being blamed for everything. And it's still, I can't tell you what it meant to me. My wife asked me, it was a little while ago. She was something like, what was it? It was like, what was the moment for you, Harry, that something went like, oh yeah, that something had shifted? Because for her, it was this moment of like, Harry, you don't call me crazy anymore. That was like big shift. And I was trying to think, like, what was the moment for me? And I guess there were a whole bunch of moments, including my own journey, but one that really stuck out for me was there was something downstairs. It was in the living room. She was coming into luteal phase, and she named very concretely this piece around, I'm feeling like this. My whole body's stressed out. It's not your fault.
Ooh,
That that just like it penetrated my heart in a very particular way. And I don't know whether that's a very long, solidly felt male part. You know, what I try to do to bring that across in my videos is I continually say in my descriptions, I don't blame you, men. I don't
yeah,
blame you. Don't
yeah,
blame. It's not your fault.
yeah,
Of course you feel like this. And it's like, but it did something really powerful to me to hear that named by a woman. It's like, I feel like this, it's not your fault. Um, so my suspicion is a lot of that pain comes from places in which we've been blamed a lot. We've
yeah.
been blamed for how women feel. We've been blamed for not being more like women, but also kind of blamed for not being more masculine. It's very difficult. It's like and so for me in all of this, it's like I keep on saying it because some guys sort of say, "Oh, you sound like you're just a simp and you're just on the women's side." And I keep on trying to say, "Man, I fucking love men. I fucking love men. We're like incredible. The way we managed to walk forward, you know, depression rates are up, suicide rates are up. Like it is a tough world to live in, and our physiology is still like." You know, for thousands of years, we had like such a clear way of gaining value and therefore being good mates.
Yeah,
Like we go out and we were willing to die for the people in our tribe.
yeah.
We were willing to die for the country. We were willing to die for that. And that gave us this really clear route. And we don't have that anymore. So it's like I adore men and I adore women, and every time I hear like I get these nasty comments, and most of the time I look at them and I go, "Oh my God, that's so tragic. Oh,
Yeah,
I'm sorry."
yeah.
Yeah.
One of the things as you were sharing that was bubbling up for me was that, the pain and we're talking about this understanding is a lot of what I see and experience is that we've found ourselves, the proverbial us, meaning men and women, in a place of defensiveness, like a battle of because I don't want to understand the other side because then that will validate me being crazy. And I don't want to validate the other side because then that'll validate it being my fault. And kind of this like chess stalemate across generations of like, uh, yeah, that defensive kind of protection. Yeah, the words like protection and defensiveness. And I think so many of these conversations are needed and experiences as well. I've been a part of profound experiences where it's like this information kind of like saying, put down the sword, put down the shield, like there's ways we can figure this out together and that really has become the thing for me in the conversation is we're in this together if we want to have more peaceful fulfilling loving relationships we're in this together.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's then at that point, it's just it ends up being for me the way I then frame that is we are in this together. We are both living a biological life. One of those lives means this. One of those lives means that. How do we then go forward? Um, and like I said, for me, it then came down into the end of I had to, as a man, understand those things from that biological level first, and then everything else could flow. Um, that was my route. That was the route in. But trying to
when
get to that understanding takes time.
when you're working with men or say men find you on your page and they like are at maybe they're at a very beginning level of this understanding of hormonal cycles emotional timing, um, what is it that you think is the best kind of thing to discuss with men at that beginning stage of like maybe they don't know anything about what are you talking about hormones, what are you talking about these things, what are the things that you like to share with men first?
If I'm being really honest, the first place I tend to say, more than anything else, is go read The Period Brain by Dr. Sarah Hill. That for me really is because I can say a lot of stuff,
Yeah,
and in our minds, I think more for men than for women most of the time. There's a respect for someone who is research credentialed and who has been in the trenches studying it.
yeah.
Um, and so I tend to point people in that direction first. It's like, go read this, then let's have some conversations. Because then you understand that everything that I'm speaking about is coming from this root. I'm not some random dad guy on the internet who's spouting shit that he's just kind of coming out with. Um, but then the conversation can begin. And then it's like, okay, how do we start to accept? And we can form that then from lived experiences. So, as much as possible, I try, if I'm talking to someone one on one, I'll try to bring back my own experiences. I'll
Yeah,
try to bring it back to, hey, this happened with my wife, and that pairs up with this thing that the doctors are speaking about here. That pairs up with this.
yeah,
So I will try to bridge this both experiential
yeah.
and research world together as much as I can.
Beautiful. And, I love that. I love giving that to listeners, like a recommendation for a book, The Period Brain. And I wrote it down for myself. Um, is the main thing of that book understanding the four phases of the cycle, or is it larger than that?
So it's understanding. I mean, all her work, and especially for you, sharing stuff about your partner earlier on in the pill, for instance, stuff like
Yeah.
that. Her other book is Your Brain on Birth Control.
Oh,
Um,
nice.
but the thing that differentiates her work from most of the other doctors that I've read is she really comes at it from the evolutionary biology sort of
Oh,
viewpoint. Why? And the period brain, it's mostly focused on luteal phase, so after ovulation, before the period, and the period. And why this? Why does she feel like this? Why is she feeling worse? Why is she all over the place? Why is she more stressed? Because let's be honest, most men fucking like the women they're with during the follicular phase. That's the fun phase. That's when she is like literally sexier to men. It's like through tiny movements, through estrogen signals, through scent, through smell, all of those things literally impact us in ways we're not aware of constantly. We're not bothered about, you know, understanding our the women in our lives at that point. We're just fucking liking it, and then we're pissed off when it changes. So, so the biggest part of that book is exploring those phases and like this is where the shit hits the fan, and this is why it matters to know about it.
I don't know. I saw this somewhere, so I don't know how real it is, but I saw somewhere a study on they did of strippers making more money in a particular
Yeah,
phase of
yeah.
their cycle.
Jordan Peterson and Sarah Hill had that discussion. You might have even seen that video at some point. Yeah, it's brilliant because it is like strippers get more tips for no reason other than they're at ovulation.
Yeah.
They don't, there's no conscious change. It's completely purely unconscious. But they just move a bit differently. We get the scent differently. Those tiny little changes. So it's amazing. And that those for me are these places where it's like fucking hell, hormones drive everything.
Yeah.
Mm. And for me, I had that really key experience of that. And part of what ties into everything I do is that in my early 20s, I was in a very low place. I was in university. I had lots of friends, but felt very lonely. And I had convinced myself that to feel better and to be more interesting, I should pump my veins full of testosterone and get bigger muscles because that's surely the way to feel better in your life. And so
Yeah.
I did. Came off, and my balls had shriveled to the size of raisins at the time. It was not a nice experience,
Really?
and I can still remember going to the doctor, and so my tests had crashed about 80% less than where it was. And I went to the doctor. I can still remember at the time of the doctor him saying, "Oh, you're still within our range. You're okay." Because I was just off the bottom of the range. Um, so I was average for like a 90-year-old man at that point, something in that kind of region, 80, 90-year-old. So he didn't treat me or give me anything or help me because I was in their range, which, by the way, is a common experience for a lot of women.
Yeah.
But I can remember I was deeply suicidal, deeply miserable, fatigued, low libido, no energy, everything that people said. I just wanted to burst into tears, taking everything personally. And that's the part that really, when I started to look into the hormones of women, it was like, that's what women describe to me.
Uh,
That's what they
uh,
describe.
yeah.
Um, it's exactly what I've had described to me now thousands of times in comments.
Yeah.
Um, so it's like that's the reality of what's going on. That's a big part of what changed things for me.
Wow. What a potent story. And, this could be a whole other podcast episode in itself, talking about what men are facing in connection to testosterone levels these days. And I think that once again, us being in it together, this is one of those subject matters where we can understand in the looking at what's going on for her, it can bring more attention for what's going on for me as a man. And this is the big subject of today is what's happening with men and their testosterone.
I mean, it can simply connecting to you start to connect to hormones and you realize how huge a driver they are of our lives. And sort of one route, like you say, as a man, you can then start to engage more with your own hormones because there's a whole bunch of things that we can do to support our testosterone.
Yes.
Whole bunch.
Yeah, and as
Yep.
I said, maybe I'll have you back and we'll do a whole one on that because I think that is it's an important one and it's one that I'm really starting to learn more about in my own life is how do I support that in a healthy way? What are these key things that impact my testosterone levels and actually doing the blood work and all these things. And I think that that's what I would love to say and in this conversation is let's do this together. Let's learn about her, what's going on in her and with her cycles and her hormones. And okay, let me learn more about me because I mean, I imagine there's a lot of people that that's just what's really off in their, for them as individuals is their hormones are out of whack and making it even harder.
Yeah. And just bringing all that, just starting the conversations, right? Just starting the conversations. Let's
Yeah.
let's start from the point. It's like, yes, we might have our issues, we might have our other shit. There might be that going on. Maybe there's that going on. There's probably stuff around your mother or her mother or this
Yeah.
or that all over in the place. But let's start from the assumption that there's biological stuff going on because then we can build on that because that biology is going to be affecting us no matter what. So let's tend to that. Let's spend some time with that and then see where we go with all the rest. Because maybe, just maybe, everything else suddenly gets easier.
Mm.
And that for, James Sexton says that in America, if you count the actual divorces, but then you also count the marriages that stay together because of the kids or some other reason, marriage has a 75% failure rate. It's like, and maybe with a few of these shifts, that rate drops. And and I think that matters.
Wow. Yeah. Wow, I didn't know that. I knew that it was getting higher and higher, but I didn't know that it was around those numbers. And I imagine what we're talking about here with hormones and the misunderstandings is gotta be a big piece of the pie of why you know, maybe not in totality these divorces are happening, but maybe it's like the things that started chipping away early on and continuously chipping away that led to the defensiveness and me against you and it no longer being a partnership, but us trying to meet our needs and the other one being responsible for our needs not being met.
Exactly. How many times does the man need to be blamed before something really hits the fan? How many times does a woman need to be called crazy before it's just enough? It's like, and that erodes intimacy.
I love
And
that.
that's all it takes. It's like it doesn't need a big thing. It doesn't need someone to cheat. It doesn't need something horrific. It needs small erosions of intimacy over many years. Um, that's it.
And that can start so simple in a relationship, that erosion of intimacy. And I can see and experience in my, reflecting back, it's like all it takes is that one time when I'm in my honeymoon phase in the relationship, everything's going good. I'm like, this is the best human in the world. I love, like that classic honeymoon high. And all it takes is that one time where she's not the way that I'm used to her being. It
Mm.
just takes that one. Oh, wait, where'd she go? Like, what happened? And it plants the seed, that fear of like, oh my God, she's not who I thought she was. And just that can erode, I can remember in one of my past relationships, it was that simple because she had this huge drive for sensuality and sexuality with me. And it was like multiple times a day, it was like her just jumping on me and wanting to have intimacy. And it probably was at a certain point in her, it was her cycle being a certain way. And I was like, wait, where did it go? She's not jumping all over me. And then probably like clockwork, that was happening, and the fear was growing in me, and then I was acting differently because it was getting in my mind. And I think that this could be a huge part of relationships starting to crumble.
Yeah. Yeah. We go in with a bunch of assumptions. We also go in with rosy eyes. I love the philosopher Alain de Botton.
No.
So if you want to hear someone talking on love, my God, listen to Alain de Botton. He's not only is he an amazing philosopher, psychologist, but he's also really fucking funny too. So it's like
Ooh.
watching his stuff is almost like stand-up comedy, but with
What?
beautiful philosophical kind of gorgeous tidbits on there as well. And he really talks, it's like, we go into a relationship with these assumptions that the other person is kind of wonderful, and we forget to think about the fact that we're all human and all therefore really really messed up individuals. And so he's like, he has these things of like, really at a first date we should sort of sit down and we should take out our little books and say, this is how I'm fucked up, how are you fucked up, what can I expect going down the line of like just how fucked up you really are. Because then we're approaching it with the assumption that marriage is not golden and wonderful, but marriage is fucking work. Not because you've got someone who isn't a soulmate, but because you've got a person who is messed up in a whole bunch of different ways. And then you throw the biology and the hormones into the mix as well. Especially you throw bloody kids into the mix, man. It's like, it's mental. Um, yep, yep.
Yeah, I think the language that's really landed for me is that we're very complex beings. There is
Mm.
a complexity to us that is profound as an individual.
Yep.
And then to bring two of just these, I mean, all the layers of things that are going on. Some can be pointed to through science, some of it yet can't be pointed through science, but it's like happening on all these different levels. And it's like bring these amazingly complex beings together. And one of the things I love about this conversation too is it invites in curiosity. And I really think that that's one of the most important things for us to be in this together. Once again, the proverbial us of men and women in relationship is whatever it takes to bring back in curiosity. What is it that you are going through? I'm reading these books. It's saying, I'm listening to these things. It's saying like, is this like your experience? And to have that, back and forth between, oh, okay, I hear like this is what life is like for you. How is that? How are you experiencing that? That's intimacy. That's weaving. That's bringing together instead of like fighting and just having our shields out.
Curiosity, and the one I really like is awe and wonder. It's like that because for me, it's like a lot of the time in my videos, what I'm trying to do is communicate awe and wonder. Because it's like when we're in awe of something, it's very difficult to be angry with it.
Yes.
It's just like fucking hell. My God, this happens. Just think about it. Isn't that amazing? Um, like that, I really appreciate curiosity curiosity paired with this just sense of like playful wonder at the world
Yeah.
and the world is. Um, yeah.
Harry,
Inviting wonder at your partner.
Harry, I really appreciate your time and coming on the show today. I love to just make space here at the end of any last message that seems important for you to the listeners, just to share. They're here at the end of the episode. That means they've aligned with some of these things and they're enjoying the subject matter. I'll, of course, share your information in the description of the podcast so they can get more connected to your work and the message that you're sharing. But is there anything that you want to share as we close out this episode?
Oh, well, thank you very much for having me. I've really appreciated being here. It's been a fun conversation. And I guess for me, the main pieces that are there is like wherever we can. And I speak, of course, mostly to men because it's like I feel like I have the right to speak to men being a man. That's
Yes.
that's why I don't aim my stuff at women. It's like
Yes.
it's not great when a man has a woman comes along and tells him what to do, and it's not great when a woman has a man come along telling them what to do. Um, what I would say is wherever possible, stepping into, as we ended that there, it's like that curiosity and just a willingness. Pick up, watch one podcast, listen, read one chapter of a book. Maybe it will change the way you see your partner. And ultimately, it's not the biggest sacrifice in the world.
Mm,
Um, you don't need to become an expert. Uh,
mm, mm,
just take just one small step towards understanding that beautiful, incredible person who walks alongside you and spends their life with you. And if you're blessed in that, to be raising kids with you as well, because everything that you do will also go across your kids.
mm,
We get to choose how they act, not only how we act, because we're going to role model to them.
mm, mm. Thank you. Thank you for being here and thank you for the message that you share. And thank you to the listeners. And go out there and I hope that this message lands for you to be inspired to go into some of that curiosity and go down a path to hopefully make your life easier, simpler, feel more connection, feel more intimacy. We talk about sexuality in here, better sex, more connection, more love. So, much more to come, and thank you for being with us here on the podcast.
Thank you so much, Ian.